Today, we're kicking it off with a little high time preference, low time preference example from the week. We got up at 4 o'clock this morning, went and cranked out the leg day at the gym, came back to the house, ate a little breakfast, wrote in the journal, read the Bible, got some self-image statements that we read and say out loud every day. And then I was going to take like a 20-30 minute nap. And your boy slept for like an hour. Slept for like an hour. And didn't realize that I woke up, my phone was on my chest, and you were calling me. And I was like, I woke up in shambles. I'm like, I gotta make some tea. I gotta do this. I gotta make my, whatever. I'm like, I was freaking out. But hey, today is Saturday, January 7th, 8:40 a.m. Griff, what's the block height? What are some of these metrics that you've got pulled up?
The block height appears to be on Clark Moody's dashboard, 770,830 blocks we got cooking as of right now. A lot of people who do not have the same time preference, in my opinion, as me and Nick, they care far more about just about one metric, and it's right up here on the left. It's called US dollar price, and they almost don't care about anything else. And they have statistics for everybody, from the people who just want to buy it to, get a 700% return in 5 years, to the people who are here for 40 years and are going to be waking up at 4 a.m. doing 10 by 10 squats. And we kind of like that. But Nick, are you ready to hash this thing out today, brother?
Dude, let's hash this out. There's like a ton of cool stuff that's happening. I'll let you crank out the first one.
Yeah, so we definitely took suggestions on Twitter the other day, and I heard somebody say it. They were like, I'm really just a cuck. I would just like some good news. And I can totally resonate with that a little bit. But unfortunately, we're going to have to maybe start this thing off with some things that are happening in technically the non-Bitcoin world, but just things that Bitcoin would solve. Pakistan is going to restrict payments. So if you're a citizen of Pakistan, you will now only be able to pull out $30,000 annually, as well as Nigeria is proposing by March that all citizens are no longer able to take cash withdrawals, any kind of fiat withdrawals from ATMs, from government accounts. I think a lot of the time, since we're in America, we don't talk about the very real nature there is of like actual nation state governments being a problem for like just the average day guy. Like, hey, I just my family's pretty wealthy over there in America or the UK. They send me some money. I need this money because otherwise, I'm in a little bit of trouble. I don't have a lot going for me over here. I don't know everybody's life, but I for sure don't feel like restricting payments should be allowed. That's something that I obviously don't believe in. And then the next story that I would get to, Texas miners supporting the grid through the latest winter storm. It is really impressive when you read this story. And the reason why they are pretty much shutting down for the winter storm, or why Bitcoin mining is so cool. Wasted energy has never been able to be monetized. But that also happened this week. So, there's a few things. Bitcoin, I think, will help with cross-border payments. Maybe, just maybe. And I think they might make them a little cheaper and freer and a little bit more instant. But then on top of that, mining, the other side of it, stabilizing America's energy grid, ERCOT, very, very big energy. Obviously, it's Texas's energy grid. It's the same thing as assuming Oklahoma has an organization for energy that you guys pay every month. Everybody has one. And all of those companies will benefit from working with Bitcoin mining. This is where we talk about it. Incentives are important, right, Nick? And the incentives align. Nobody has to tell anybody to do anything if the incentives are correct. And then I guess we got to throw it to the fact that apparently a Bitcoin developer with quite a notoriety had about $3.5 million worth of Bitcoin, or 217 Bitcoin, on not a hardware wallet, and for sure not cold storage. He had thought it was on cold storage, but because he was a developer, he had it on a node device on an actual computer, and he essentially put it somewhere that he didn't intend to put it, and somebody hacked him and took his Bitcoin. As far as I can understand it from what I've read, he was basically holding up a sign like, "Here, steal my Bitcoin. Here you guys go." And somebody stole. Of course, somebody stole it. That prompted a pretty prominent crypto name, Yudi, to basically come out and say, like, see, everybody's an idiot. Why would anybody be able to self-custody? Nick, we cannot support anybody who goes against it. Self-custody, in my opinion, is a very large part of this. It's pretty much the only reason why I personally I am as convicted about Bitcoin as I am. that self-custody piece is so big. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that particular story, Nick, or can you not hold 12 words on a wallet? Are you struggling over there?
I absolutely agree with you. Bitcoin is about removing the trusted third party and allowing people to transact peer-to-peer and not having to worry about, the previous things you were talking about with Pakistan and Nigeria, limiting payments or removing the ability to withdraw cash and transacting cash and trying to move to a digital society so that they can have their thumb on everything and know exactly what's going on. I mean, that's not good, right? People should have the freedom to be able to communicate economically, right? Which is spending our money. And buying and selling and transacting in the market. I mean, it is pretty funny that homeboy was talking about, see, anybody can screw this up, find a platform that you trust and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. Like even something as simple as getting on Blue Wallet, making your wallet, writing your 12 words down and putting them in a safe, secure place, and then deleting the wallet from your phone. Dude, I mean, there you go. Like, that's at least a good starting point.
And I had shared this with Nick. A lot of the time people will buy Bitcoin and never test these things out. Even myself included, for a while, I wasn't really moving Satoshis on a wallet because I don't know why. You just don't really think that you want to test it, or you're scared or whatnot, because it is a lot of responsibility to have all of your value in 12 words. I mean, don't get us wrong here. It is a little stressful at times to go, all right, I just have like a piece of paper or a couple, or I'm separating these things out. I'm not telling any of you guys, but I got all these words, right? And they're all somewhere. Yeah, I mean, I guess if somebody could figure that out, it might be a problem. But the cool part about that is it's kind of, there's no gatekeepers to your Bitcoin. And that's kind of the important part about the self-custody, is that it doesn't really matter how much value you can accrue. If you accrue enough of it and you have, let's say, $1.8 million worth of gold ounces in your house, can you defend that much gold, or can you not defend it? See, the thing with Bitcoin's words is if you wanted to memorize them, then it's really going to be hard for anybody to come get your Bitcoin. But before we get to Nick's highlight story of the week, the only other thing that I had is I read that the Bolt card is coming to El Salvador, and I've seen that all over Twitter. It's pretty awesome. It's obviously like people love this, a tangible piece of plastic, a card that you can, boom, just use as like a credit card on a lot of machines, and it operates using Lightning, obviously, and very, very successful. It's coming to El Salvador, so they're going to be able to spend it. And shout out to Bitcoin Africa. We did not get enough stories on Bitcoin Africa. We need to start following more accounts, because obviously things are happening over there. And as we love Bitcoin, we are people fans on this podcast. We are humanity fans on this podcast. We want more people. We want more people with more money. We want more economic output all over the world. And we want more equilibriums found for every individual across the world. And so we will do our best to start getting more African Bitcoin stories, because obviously it's taking off over there. And I don't think anybody could say that wouldn't be a big deal. If Africa can get on board with the modern economy, then look out, because talent, I'm sure, is there. It has more to do with imperialism. And obviously when we're saying that Nigeria is restricting ATM withdrawals, it's hard to, accumulate some value over there in Southern Africa. So Nick, what do you got for us?
I'm going to jump in. Actually, before we get there, I just got to show you guys this piece that I saw on Twitter that Michael Saylor posted just the other day. I thought it was pretty cool here. So, performance since August 2020, when MicroStrategy adopted its Bitcoin strategy. And then the source down here, it says from FactSet as of 4 p.m. Eastern time on January 6th. So that's yesterday. So 4 p.m. yesterday. So look at this. So it gives a couple of different key assets and indices, and then also big tech stocks here. So listen to this. So Bitcoin is up 41% since that time. The S&P 500 is up 16% since that time. The NASDAQ is down 4%. Gold is down 9%. Silver is down 17%. The bond index is down 17%. Those are key assets and indices, right? Moving on to the big tech stocks. Google is up 18%. Apple is up 15%. Microsoft is up 8%. Netflix is down 35%. Amazon down 45%. Facebook down 51%. MicroStrategy is up 30%. So I was like, man, how interesting is that, right? The main idea is that they are going to shift from cash as their main reserve holding to Bitcoin, right? And obviously, we talked about it last week. I mean, what do they own? Like 135,500 Bitcoin or some crazy number like that.
They own a good chunk of Bitcoin. That is for sure.
That is crazy, right?
What are people going to be doing with all this Bitcoin? I continue to get asked that every single day of my life. Anybody who gets into a debate with me, they're like, what are you going to do with your Bitcoin? It's not tangible. You can't spend it. Most recently, Schellenberger was on the Pomp podcast, and that guy, he had some interesting takes. And the thing that I would say most about it, I read somebody else tweeted.
That's a nice way to put it, Griff.
Yeah, I never really wanted to say that anybody's being intellectually dishonest, because in my opinion, that is actually worse than scamming somebody, knowingly gaslighting a situation, or just being like, oh, well, Bitcoin's a scam on top of digital art, on top of this, on top of that. That's just, you're being disingenuous, and you're not really being intellectually honest about what it actually is and what it does. But to a lot of people's point, what does Bitcoin do? Obviously, we're talking about some things that are going on with lightning payments in Africa. We're talking about self-custody. We're talking about banking the unbanked. We're talking about no trusted third party to transact value. But if that isn't enough for you,
let's talk about Switzerland.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Let's talk about
Lugano. So you give us that story.
Let's talk about Lugano, Switzerland. I'm sure that a lot of you guys have seen this. If you have not, you can now go there and only use Bitcoin to live. How cool is that? So here's the full story. On March 3rd of 22, Switzerland city of Lugano began recognizing Bitcoin as legal tender. I think that this is simply just another domino falling, right? I think that we're going to continue to see more and more and more and more of this happening because I think it's pretty simple. There's all this existing infrastructure that I think we're going to be able to use for Bitcoin. But during the live stream in which this announcement was made, El Salvador's growth in GDP and in tourism was mentioned as an example of what the potential of opening a city to Bitcoin can be, right? So they talked a lot about that, I think, but they talked about El Salvador's GDP growth of 10% and the tourism growth of 30%. And so the city of Lugano in Switzerland is like, hey, cool, we would like that. Maybe we should do that for our city. So they made the announcement, we're adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender. And they even mentioned, the city director, he mentioned rolling out the red carpet for Bitcoin businesses and enthusiasts. And they even put a fund together. It's over $100 million they put together that they're going to use to bring Bitcoin businesses to Lugano, Switzerland, to move their headquarters to the city, to develop in the city, which I think is really cool. And also, too, the city is freaking beautiful. Griff, I don't know if you could look up maybe some photos that we could shoot up on the screen. But, dude, it's like a super cool city, like right on the ocean. Really nice, really good looking place. But now, after only 10 months since that announcement, which was, again, it was March 3rd of 22 that they announced that. Now, only 10 months after, someone can use Bitcoin to buy just about anything that they need in the city. I have all this Bitcoin. Now, what do I do with it? I just hold it? Here's an example of what is happening around the world in other places where people are being able to use it to, look at that. Look at those photos. Whew. I mean, after 10 months, now you can go to that city and you can buy just about anything. And then the tweet that they just shot out, in Lugano, you pay with Bitcoin for food, drinks, art, fashion, jewelry, cars, watches, tattoos, real estate, municipal taxes and services, and so much more. It's also true that there are now hundreds of merchants who can accept Bitcoin as payment. Isn't that interesting? How cool is that, right? And this is just one city. This is just one city. We know that there's several other developments like this all around the world, but that's just one city where somebody can go and live with Bitcoin. Finding Bitcoin before it fundamentally changes the world is pretty damn cool because we get to watch this stuff happen. We get to watch these dominoes fall one by one in real time, because, you and I have dove down the rabbit hole. We've got to learn a lot about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is for sure, a lot of things are like this, but I think Bitcoin is very much like this because it is really intertwined in so many things. Man, once you get into Bitcoin and start learning about it, you realize that the rabbit hole just gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. As soon as you think you get to the end, you realize that, there's there's another 3 or 4 miles deep, and then you get down there, and then there's another couple of miles that you got to go.
Well,
it just never ends, right?
Yeah, you just realize that when you're in a Bitcoin paradigm and you actually believe in proof of work, you actually believe in sound money, you actually believe in you're, like we said earlier, we're humanity fans on this podcast, and what's going on in Switzerland to what's going on in Nigeria to what's going on in the Philippines, as we talked about with remittance payments last week. The thing about Bitcoin is that that's going on in Switzerland. All of the Nigerians, all of the Philippine business owners that start accepting Bitcoin, all the El Salvadorians, all the people who just hodl over here in America, they benefit. Why do we benefit? Because everybody talks about, oh, well, you'll never be able to use your Bitcoin. You'll never be able to do this. Well, it's just not true. There are multiple places in the world today that you can go and spend your Bitcoin and save in Bitcoin and spend your Bitcoin and save in Bitcoin. A lot of the time people talk about, oh, well, if it goes up to $1 million of Bitcoin, you're for sure going to sell it. No, but if there's no taxes, what would be the reason for me not to spend some and then continue to just save more? Now, the stack that you're creating here at 16K, I advise, obviously, for you to never go below whatever you're stacking at right now. That should always be your goal in Bitcoin. It's a savings technology, but look at this beautiful city. You can go here and spend Bitcoin at over 100 businesses, and they're literally sitting there going, we need to roll out this city with these mountains and the water and all this beautiful stuff is going, this isn't good enough. We need to do more to attract people here. And they're going, what is our best option? Bitcoin. Why? It's easy. It's easy for people to come on over there and spend their Bitcoin and use it because all they need is 12 words and they got a wallet. All they need is 12 words and they're participating in the Lugano, Switzerland economy, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. No other technology actually gives anybody the ability in other parts of the world to be a part of anything going on in Lugano, Switzerland, but Bitcoin's doing just that. So I hope that some of those stories today kind of lifted some spirits, because this is what I've been seeing over the bear market is how many things are getting built in the bear market now versus previous ones that I was not involved with. I couldn't even tell you, but it seems like so many great things are coming out. We didn't even cover it on here today, but Jack is coming out with his own hardware wallet. So the competition for hardware wallets, the competitions to be large node operators, mining as always is going to be competitive, just with the difficulty adjustment. So it's been a really interesting Satoshi Saturday. Nick, that was an awesome story, and that was very well covered. And maybe we should go visit Switzerland. That's all I have for today. If Nick has any more thoughts, he will share them with you.
Another one is that the largest pharmacy in Ukraine, it's ANC Pharmacy, is also adopting Bitcoin payments at all of their 1,000 stores, which I think is cool, right? Again, these are just little dominoes that are going to continue to fall. And that's pretty interesting to see, and I'm really excited about it. Also, highly recommend you go check out the interview with Pomp and Schellenberger. It's pretty funny because, dude, like that one was really interesting. I saw that come out, and I was like, oh, this kind of seems interesting. I'll check it out, because that video that he posted, I forget what it was that he said. Schellenberger said, and I was like, yo, are we good? Like, what did he just say? And I was like, okay, it's 45 minutes. I think I was like just about to hop in the shower. I was like, let me listen to this for a few minutes. And I hopped in the shower and I was listening to it. And I'm like, what is this dude talking about? And I saw somebody on Twitter because everybody was talking about it for a couple of days. And somebody was like, they were like, get off the podcast, bro. Go hit the books, go hit the books. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, Griff, I have to echo your thoughts there. Thought it was a fun Satoshi Saturday. Hey, if you're not watching us right now, we've got video on Spotify and on YouTube. So those pictures that we pulled up of beautiful Lugano, Switzerland, you got to check them out. You got to come watch us so you can see the photos. Also, hit us on Twitter at Nick and Griff Show. We want to interact with you. We want to be more interactive in the community. We want people to give us thoughts. So what do you like about the show? What do you not like about the show? What would you like to see? Come hit us on Twitter. It's at NYC Nick, ANDGRIFF Griff Show, SHOW, at Nick and Griff Show. Yeah, we're on all the major platforms, and we'll see you next week for another Satoshi Saturday.
Peace.